is a question from Richard that I think a lot of people will want to be asked and answered. So, Richard Brook. Where's Richard? Well, I'll ask it. Richard said, why were you thrown under the bus? Now, I know we've covered transport. It's not a transport question. Do you feel like you were?
It's a good question, isn't it? Why? I mean, I don't know if everybody knows what's happened. I imagine a lot of people do. I've been North of Tyne Mayor since 2019. Delivered thousands of jobs. We've created 15 years' worth of jobs according to the government target in just 4 years, despite a pandemic, despite a standing start. Every pound I invest returns £3 to government through payroll taxes alone. You would think that that would show that you were good at your job. The decision to do it, politics is a blood sport, someone told me before I became a politician. I mean, I became a politician at the age of 48. I'm not a career politician by any sense. You know, people are ambitious and have to, you know, and they have a word with other people on panels who then say, you can't go forward. But by any measure, it is a ridiculous decision. And the support that's come forward has been immense.
How did you find out the decision? What was the process? Was it an email, a phone call?
So the process was, I'd already launched my campaign for the Labour nomination in Sunderland. Huge widespread support, loads of unions backing me. I'm convinced I would have won really quite easily, which is why I was taken out at the long listing stage. Because beyond that, you then go to the short listing stage, where local parties get a decision and they say, you know, we'd like Jamie, we'd like someone else. And then trade unions and affiliated organisations do. And I already had the majority of the trade unions backing me. You know, I was going to do well in this. And then it goes to one member, one vote, and I know we had loads of support. But rather than risk that, I think it was an internal factional decision within part of the Labour Party. Now, exactly why and who, I do know a lot about it, but I think I want to move on from that. So, does it make any sense? Was it particularly disappointing when you have people in the front bench of the Labour Party being sent out to brief against you? And there's a number of times when I've appeared on television with these people, and God, they were squirming and coughing over their words, and I called them out on it. I said, look, you're choking over your words. You know this is wrong. But the support that's come from everywhere, from other Labour mayors, from a huge number of trade union leaders, even ones aren't affiliated with the Labour Party.
Some Conservatives.
And Conservatives. I don't know if anyone saw the Sunday Politics when you had Richard Moss saying to Wayne Daly, who used to be in my cabinet, because I don't choose who's in my cabinet, he's a Conservative member from Northumberland, and saying, you used to work with Jamie Driscoll. And he says, yeah. And he made his speech, and he's very sort of firebrand about his politics and what needs to happen. But he's very professional, he's very intelligent, he's incredibly capable. You got a Tory saying that about a Labour mayor, and I never hide my politics, then actually it's really been quite heartening, the support I've got. But this isn't just about me. I don't know about anyone else. I've sensed a change in politics over the last couple of years, and significantly even over the last few months. I think since that Truss government, where people, and you know, all that happened with Boris Johnson, and people, and then the leader of the Labour Party says, that climate emergency thing, we're not actually going to fund that anymore. And free school meals for kids, we're not that. And the 2-child limit for universal credit, that's gone. Tuition fees, that's gone. Setting up the Department for International Development, that's gone. There's nothing left. And people are saying, where is our representation? Who speaks for us? And I think that's the big problem. And I think it's partly caught up in that wave. And Andy, who's a good friend of mine, and we work closely, we ran the Great North Run together, Andy Burnham, he's had Labour briefing against him. And I think it's insecurity.
Or overcaution, if I was being kinder?
Yeah, people say that, oh, let's just... I don't buy that. I think if your arm's off, saying, oh, have a couple of aspirin, that's not overcaution. That's not pragmatic. That's just homeopathy, isn't it? An apology to anybody who believes in homeopathy. I don't. But the practical response to a climate emergency is to invest in clean energy. Not to say, oh, well, actually, the disease is so bad, we're going to water down the medicine. The practical response to a cost of living crisis is to invest in better job creation and better industrial infrastructure. And we know with absolute mathematical certainty that this stuff pays for itself anyway. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take on the argument and win it. And some of that, let's be honest, our country is dysfunctional because huge amounts of wealth are concentrating into the hands of a small number of people who don't pay tax here. And frequently we hear the argument, well, we can't own our own industries. You know, we can't have them in public. Most of our industry and transport system, our infrastructure, like water and power, is owned publicly, just not by us, by other countries. And our money is going to pay their profits. And it would make much more economic sense to have this reinvested here. But you know what? You say that and you suddenly find you're not allowed to stand as mayor. So I think that's part of the story behind it.
So moving on, you've obviously not lost any passion. You've got more now as we brought that up. So moving on, you're still interested in seeing this region be brilliant and continue to do the things that, well, it's unfinished. There's still a lot to do. Yeah.
I am the mayor. I am the only person who's ever done this job. I'm the only person with any experience to do this job. My track record, not just of delivering on the policies, but being able to negotiate across politics to get the best funded devolution deal, to the extent that you have Tory cabinet ministers tweeting in my defence, and I don't hide my politics. That shows that what people want are politicians who don't play daft political games, but who put their region first, have the ambition. I want to build a total transport network. I want a job for everyone who wants one, and that means the skills to do it. And I want a Green New Deal, because if we don't tackle the climate emergency will tackle us. And we can do this. Shy-Bairn's getting out.
I think we've overrun. Thank you very much for coming. And I don't know how you... I was going to say, I don't know how you sleep at night, but I don't, you've got all those things to get your head round. What will you do when you go home? That's the last question, just the human side of Jamie Driscoll.
Yeah, you know what? My kids keep me honest. They're both very bright, very cheeky. They don't call me Mr. Mayor.
Really?
But they will say, Dad, can you help me mod this computer game? Or, you've got to cook the tea. And that sort of everyday life. Having a supportive family makes such a difference. And I'm in that really fortunate position. I know not everyone is. But that helps. And a little bit of physical exercise. So riding my bike, you can have a very busy day.
Clears your head.
So much. Yeah. And just that going down Matthew Bank at 25 miles an hour with the wind in your face, you know what? I think that helps.
Lovely. Jamie Driscoll,